Investors like you and me have a massive opportunity right now in Canada's natural gas markets. There are so many stocks perfectly positioned for a massive bull run, thanks in large part to massively changing infrastructure, situations, and cost metrics in this industry. We're simply put in a great position for cash flows to come roaring in and for companies to just rake in profits, thanks in part to some fantastic management from a lot of Canada's natural gas firms. And today, for the first time in 2025, we got some serious confirmation that actually 2025 will be the start of this multi-year bull run and that this industry will be changed forever. Today, we're going to talk about what Birchcliff Energy told us just yesterday morning and why I believe that this is just the first of a whole list of companies making significant revisions that will make Wall Street move, and how it's basically now or never to get your positions in these companies at these prices. So first and foremost, welcome to Larch Investing. My name is Liam. I talk about Canadian investing every single week on the channel. So if that interests you, please do subscribe to the channel and like the video. Makes a huge difference and doesn't cost anything. Birchcliff Energy is an intermediate Canadian oil and gas company. They've had their ups, they've had their downs, but they sit in that space of not being a huge giant, not like a CNQ or a Tourmaline, and not having the sort of history of an Imperial or a Suncor, but instead being much more susceptible to the whims of the market, thanks to their size, to their positioning. Now, they have had some really quite smart moves. They've done some fantastic hedging. They've put themselves in a position to make solid cash flows. And up until this morning, they were in a fine position. But with the news that just broke this week, talking about their revisions, about how they see 2025 playing out, it's a whole different story for this stock. I mean, at the peak of trading on Thursday, we saw 14% upside in this company. And that is not normal for a sort of mid-size, let's say, Canadian oil and gas firm. This is not a household name. This is not a company that most investors on Wall Street or in the retail markets know super well. You really have to be pretty into the energy space to know this firm. But what they said today was game-changing. They are completely revising not only their cash flow projections for the year, but they're also revising the amount of debt they expect to take on. All in the midst of the biggest tumultuous trade war era that is in any living Canadian investor's memory, where we're in this real reshuffling of what it means to be a Canadian resource company. Yet these guys are talking massive, massive changes coming this year in 2025. Just to show you how big this change is, I have the cash flow numbers right beside me, and it's huge. Today, they estimate that by the end of this year, they will have adjusted funds flow of $580 million. This compares to January 22nd, just about a month ago, when they estimated $445 million for the year. When you're talking numbers of that size, that is over 100 million. That is a significant percentage jump over the course of a month. When you're talking numbers that big, now I want you to imagine what's going to happen to a CNQ. What's going to happen to a Tourmaline? What's going to happen to the Suncors and Imperials? If Birchcliff is saying things are this much better, then those companies are almost certainly building these same projections as we speak. You are going to see this string of massive, massive revisions to the positive. The last time we saw this was at the start of 2022, when the world was suddenly being plunged into this massive conflict and the whole investing community was on edge, wondering, is this the end? We're not in that position anymore. We're not all rushing for cover in safe commodity-based stocks, needs-based stocks. Instead, right now, everybody is confused. There is volatility everywhere. And the natural gas market is going up significantly. Now, at the Henry Hub, which is sort of the US / I guess Mexico market, prices have reached the same kinds of levels they did back in 2022. And this is timing just perfectly for Canadian producers with LNG Canada, which I have been harping on about for over a week at this point, which I think is going to be a massive game-changing, just industry shifting project that goes online this year. And Birchcliff is the first company here to say, hey, we need to change our expectations. We need to raise our expectations dramatically because we see the prices we can get for our natural gas exceeding our expectations dramatically by hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, let's talk about why this matters for you and me. As an investor, I have been putting my money slowly into companies like Tourmaline, like C&Q, like Enbridge and Pembina, and all of these kinds of large firms. I don't think we have a super long period of time before we see some of these large firms make some big splashes revising their own earnings. Imagine if you saw the same kind of percentage change in the expected free cash flow numbers for C&Q, for Tourmaline, for Synovus, for any of these really very large companies. You would be talking not hundreds of millions of dollars, but several $billion in free cash flow above what was expected at the start of the year. And that could turn into fantastic returns. We could see stocks jump. We could see increased shareholder return. So maybe a special dividend. Maybe it's a big buyback. I mean, Tourmaline's been talking about buybacks. This could be a huge opportunity for them. Maybe this is increased investment. Maybe it's an acquisition. They're going to have extra money. And in this industry, when extra money's there are really smart managers who manage to use that money and put it to good use. They're great at taking those opportunities and finding ways to make it the best return possible for shareholders. And this year is no exception. So when we see more news, stocks are going to jump and big money is going to pay attention. Already today, we saw this stock move by several million, maybe a couple $1 billion of money pour into this company. Now that could be just the traders at the big banks that are focused on energy. That could be just energy specific investors, energy specific hedge funds. But if you see C&Q move, see Tourmaline move, it's not just those funds, not just those managers, not just that money, that sort of pool of money that's already in this industry. It's outside money who are looking for somewhere to put cash, who are trying to get out of the American big tech trade because they're worried about valuation, who are trying to get out of their cash positions because they're worried about inflation. It is going to move. And while I think the industry itself is on a nice, slow burn, long run, asymmetric growth trajectory, these moves can happen overnight. And so as an investor, I am going to start making bigger moves sooner. I am never going to try and time the market entirely. I'm not throwing my whole portfolio into this. I'm not selling out of other fantastic companies that I own. But I am going to ramp up the timeline just that little bit. Going to take that little extra cash that I've been saving ready for a buy the dip opportunity, and I'm going to deploy a little bit of it. And well, these companies might not move today. Maybe not this month, maybe not next month even. I seriously think when we start seeing news that reflects this first big announcement from Birchcliff, it's going to change the industry. It is going to be fantastic. And I want to be in my positions first. That's about all I have for you folks today. Hope you enjoyed the video. I would love to hear from you guys. Are there other companies you want to hear about? Are there other parts of this industry you'd like me to talk about? I love talking about Canadian investing here on the channel. And I'm really diving into the oil and gas space right now, just because I've seen a couple opportunities and I wanted to take advantage of this period of time when I think the whole country is sort of realizing how huge this is. But there are all sorts of industries in Canada that deserve attention. And I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you want to hear about? And with that being said, I hope I catch you in the next video.